Hello, friends, and welcome to another recording of Miss Rhodes' Fun Facts. So, I would like to bring up a question with you today that I feel like a lot of people don't ask anymore, and that's a shame because it's a really important question. And that question is it living? So, to begin, I'm going to show you these two worms right here. This one is an earthworm. This one is a gummy worm. Which one's living? How do we know? Well, let's find out with the magic of science. So, first of all, let's go through some real quick vocabulary. We have biotic and abiotic. When we say that something is biotic, we say that it is living. And when we say that something is abiotic, we mean that it is not living. Fun fact, the prefix of the letter A means not or the opposite of whatever the rest of the word means. So, for example, if you were to see a doctor because you think, oh no, I might have tuberculosis, and the doctor says that you are symptomatic, that means that you have the symptoms of TB and you have it. But if the doctor says, you're fine, you are asymptomatic of tuberculosis, that means you do not have the symptoms. So, what we are going to be focusing on today is determining whether something is biotic or whether they have the symptoms of being alive. Let's begin. There are seven characteristics of living organisms that we can check off on this list as we examine a specimen to determine if it is biotic or not. The very first one is to see whether or not it metabolizes nutrients and gases for energy. All living things require sugar, crazy, right? Sugar to stay alive. It is our primary source of energy. So maybe lay that one on your family next time they ask you to cut back on the Reese's. Anyways, so we have to have sugar and other nutrients like protein and vitamins and da-da-da-da-da. And we also have to have gases. And by that, I don't mean, no, I mean that we need to breathe in oxygen. It's really handy for staying alive. Also, plants need to breathe in carbon dioxide. So the metabolism of these nutrients like sugar and these gases like oxygen and carbon dioxide are key to determine whether or not something is alive. If it ain't breathing, it's not alive. Next one. How do we know if something is biotic? Well, it has to be made of cells. Every single thing has at least one cell. So, for example, in a multicellular organism like a big old zebra or a big old tree, we can trace our way backwards through these levels to find cells. So, in this zebra, we have cells that come together to make tissues, and those tissues make organs, which are like hearts and brains and stomachs and skin and stuff like that. And then those organs come together to make entire organ systems, which all compile together to make organisms like the zebra. But again, it always comes back to at least one cell. Next, we have to see that the specimen or organism is maintaining homeostasis. So that's maintaining an internal calmness or balance while the environment, the external changes. When it gets really, really hot outside, dogs pant, stick their tongue out, and they pant when they get hot. Trees, the leaves will change color and drop off the trees entirely when it starts to get cold. This is homeostasis. When we get cold, what do? We shiver. Our bodies shake uncontrollably. That is homeostasis. Trying to keep our insides in balance while the outside's a little crazy. Next, we need everything to grow. Yes, even short Miss Rhodes grew at one point. So we have growth in the form of size, like the little baby elephant becomes a big elephant. We also see changes occurring in organisms' body structures throughout this growth cycle. Seeds will become entire plants. Caterpillars will become pretty little butterflies. This growth has to happen in order for something to be considered living. Next, we have reproduction. So we can reproduce either asexually or sexually. If we're undergoing asexual reproduction, then the parent is identical to the offspring. There's no difference from one to the other. But if we have sexual reproduction where we're mixing gametes, then we will find that the offspring is containing a little bit of each of that parent in them, which brings us to the next one, heredity. All biotic organisms have to show some type of heredity in them, which is characterized from passing on DNA. DNA is what codes for what we look like and how we act. So we can see here a behavioral example of heredity by way of all of these little baby duckies swimming in a row like it's mother ducky. And we can see physical heredity by way of the fact that these little kittens look just like its parent cat, and this acorn will one day grow up to be a tree, a big tall tree, just like the one behind it. And then finally, we have adaptation of population. And this one does take a little extra noodling to consider, but with the adaptation of population, we see that there are certain traits that all organisms within one population have to help them survive, and that's key. For example, I ain't never seen a short-necked giraffe, and I'm sure neither have you. Why is that? Because having a long neck is really important if you're going to be a giraffe. Giraffes need that long neck to reach all those leaves up here. Also, in this particular species of chameleon, they all look just like leaves to help them camouflage from their predators. That's pretty neat. So, how do we know if something is biotic or not? How do we know that this earthworm is definitely biotic and this gummy worm is definitely abiotic? Because the earthworm meets all 7 characteristics of living organisms. This is an all or nothing thing, my friends. You either hit all 7 characteristics and you're biotic, or you don't and you're abiotic. So, thanks for coming to this episode of Helpful Hints and Fun Facts with Miss Rhodes.